much. I'd like to address first of all our German colleagues and friends, students and teachers. And it has been extraordinary to witness this project, the development of this project during this year, and how it is possible to combine science with the intelligent use of the internet and information technologies. Nothing replaced human contact and human friendship, but the internet helps very much to broaden the number of people we are able to meet and we are able to be friends with. I'd like to tell you, and I'm addressing myself to our German colleagues, I'd like to tell you what is this in Portugal. And the same type of work has been done in other countries, in other European countries. We are trying very hard to put together science education in schools and scientific activity in the scientific laboratories. It is not easy at all. In fact, schools are a miracle of civilization. It is extraordinary that you can transmit civilization and culture from one generation to the other with that trick, extraordinary trick, of putting out of the workforce for 20 years the old generation with an incredible type of organization with this school, completely out of the usual institutions for work, with a different type of organization of time, and with a special practice, because what we are doing in school is not a replica of what is outside. There is nothing which is exactly equal. You learn how to be a doctor, you learn how to be an architect, you learn how to be a plumber, but you are not doing that. You are learning how to read and write and mathematics and physics and chemistry and lots of things. You don't know exactly why you are doing that, but finally, at the end, you discover that you have repeated and improved civilization. And that's an extraordinary trick that the Greeks have invented for us, and the Chinese and other civilizations, and we are very grateful to them, because finally that's why we are here. Now, the question of science is even more tricky. 100 years ago, it was not obvious that science has to be taught to everyone in every schools. Scientists were saying that, but that was debatable in Europe. Latin was something considered important. Eventually, mathematics, but not science in general. 1 century later, we have the majority of developed nations and the majority of the use of developed nations, all of them, irrespective what their professions will be, they learn some science. But science is not speech. Science is something which is done in scientific centers, in research laboratories, by real people, organized in teams, and that experience is science. But how can you do science in schools? When in a school you don't have a research laboratory in school. You don't have real scientists there. That is the problem we all face. And there is no solution for this problem. I understand from some of you, I learned something today. I learned that in the homeland of Karl Marx, someone is repeating the Communist Manifesto, asking lymphocytes of all the world unite. That is an extraordinary homage to a son of Germany by modern biology. But there is no solution to that problem. There are ways to minimize the problems. And one of the ways to minimize the problem of the separation between school and the scientific activity is to improve contact, direct contact, information, and participation of students in laboratories. What we are trying to do is to make twinings between schools and research laboratories and make that relation organized and permanent. Just say to the scientists in a very important research lab, well, you are very distinguished scientists, of course, and you are not working for the school nearby, you are working for the future of mankind. But from time to time, you could have some relation with just the school across the street, you know, because they are there, and it's probably much easier for you to go there from time to time and to discuss what you are doing, and probably you learn something discussing with the students and with the teachers in that school. One way is to use holidays, school holidays, to have students doing research work in laboratories. Well, everyone tells me, well, that's impossible. How a student can do research work in a laboratory? Well, but the trick of science is that you really can make almost anyone into a scientist, very frankly. It's not so important to be so clever to be a scientist. Any normal human being can be a scientist if the conditions are right and if he or she wants to. Well, probably is not be a genius, but the majority of science is not made by a genius. It is made by very normal people. Some are even stupid. Now, to use student holidays so that students can be involved directly in research teams. But that needs quite a lot of organization of a laboratory. It's very difficult in a research team to open up for 1 month relevant work for a student. You have to change the way of the research which is being done. But some laboratories do that. We have been doing that for the last years in Portugal, and we are very happy about that. And if we could cross-change experience in that area, we would be very happy. That's a challenge for our German colleagues. If some of your students want to come to a research lab in Portugal during holidays, we will say yes, provided that you find a research laboratory in German to accept some of our students. Now, the other type of work we are doing in our schools, and I know that there are in some Länder in Germany there are experiences like that, is to provide funding to projects of science projects in schools, motivated by teachers and students, not by scientists, but by the teachers themselves, which can invent new ways of teaching science, invent new apparatus, invent new experiments, and that is being in our country funded by the research budget, which is a complementary to the education budget, and it is our way from the field of research to say how we can help education and how education should be a priority for everyone. Education cannot, if it is a priority, it is not only the concern for a Ministry for Education. It should be a priority for everyone, for the Ministry of Health, of Environment, of Science. And we try to do our job and our best to help science and science education in schools, and attracting, making to the attention, the scientists to pay attention to schools, and to help schools when they can, and to be involved in this project when they can. Some of these, the vast majority of these projects, except the one or the ones in which you have been involved, are national, but they shouldn't be national. Some of these projects, all of these projects are experimental in nature, because we feel that science is an experimental activity. But you should share the experience and you can share the experience of experimental work in schools through the internet, through the exchange of protocols, of the debate, of the results of the experiments, etc. That can be done, and that can be done very easily now through the internet. Even remote control of instruments is a new field of activity which could be developed in Europe. It is easy now, technically it is easy, to use the internet to control at a distance instruments in other parts of the continent. It is not difficult. We have invented that 20 years ago in nuclear physics. It has been available now for many years, and it is very cheap to do that with the normal protocols used by PCs, usual PCs. So it can be done. We can not only discuss the results of experiments, but even interact with the real experiment if the right interface is put into the majority of the equipment in another school or in another laboratory. There are some laboratories, research laboratories now in the world, which have the possibility of some time devoted to education. For instance, there are research telescopes which can be used for education and controlled remotely by schools. We have set up some, for astronomy, for popular astronomy, good telescopes which are used by amateur astronomers, with the condition that part of the time can be devoted to the use by schools. But what is the use by schools? It is not really going there, because that's not very practical, to go where the actual telescope is. But it's just to control remotely this telescope by the internet and acquire the data. That can be done. And that can be combined with the discussions and the interpretation of results, etc. So what I am saying is that we are open for collaboration with you in all these fields and in other fields, and we hope that this meeting has been just the starting point for this forthcoming collaboration. Thank you very much, all of you.